Welcome to Moz Academy. Today we're talking about understanding the marketing funnel. What happens when people come to our websites is that we often presume that we know what the customer flow and journey looks like. But in fact, if we're not measuring it along steps of the way, we can lose sight of the big picture as well as some issues of tactical importance. So I want to run through this. Usually, when someone buys from us, what first happens is that they're exposed in some way to our brand, to our website name, on some channel prior to making a visit. That could be they're exposed through search. They see our brand name in the rankings. They see our domain name. It could be through social. They hear about us. They see people tweeting about us or talking about us, mentioning us. It's word of mouth or press. It could be advertising, right? Brand advertising certainly has driven people to have awareness of lots of brands, or even mentions, right, in the news, in a blog, those kinds of things. Once that exposure happens, discovery occurs. People come to the actual website. They make a visit. And that first visit may be merely acquainting themselves with what the company does and what the brand is doing. And then they get into consideration phase. They actually make it to a product or a service page, a landing page of some kind that induces or wants to induce action. That action is what we usually term in the marketing world to be a conversion. And that could be, we want them to sign up for a list. We want them to make a donation. We want them to join a cause. We want them to buy something, right? Complete an e-commerce sign up, checkout process, or sign up for a service. And then after that, we get the follow through that comes from customer service and the customer relationship that's built. That can be through order fulfillment, through happiness with the product, through the direct communication that's done. And then there's the retention aspects that predict, loyalty and evangelism, basically someone sticking with our service, someone coming back, someone evangelizing us. Understanding this funnel and how it applies to whatever marketing you're doing is critically important. There's a bunch of metrics that you can use to measure these. I won't dive deeply into that in this video, although it will be in the Moz Knowledge Center, the Academy. But number one, big takeaway, you want to tell a cohesive story throughout this process. If your brand exposure, right, the mentions of you, the word of mouth, the search mentions, the social mentions, if those things are telling a different story than what's actually happening on your product or service level pages, that gets confusing. That causes a disconnect and a lack of conversion action. Likewise, if you make promises at the conversion that are not happening in customer service and in fulfillment and in the relationship you build and in the retention processes, you're going to end up with a lot of one-time customers who are very disappointed and through word of mouth and social and search tell a story that you don't want to be told. Number two, you want to do cohort analysis. What I mean by cohort analysis is essentially branching off and looking at people who came during different time frames, who came through different channels to the site, and understand how that affects their flow through the funnel. So it could be, for example, that people who come via search tend to get further down the funnel in that visit than people who come via social. And that's okay. That doesn't mean social is a bad channel, but we should be able to understand those things. Number three, measure with multi-channel attribution. Multi-channel attribution meaning I can look at, did this visitor come via search first and then social later, and then they came via an ad, maybe a retargeting, remarketing ad, and then they saw a brand mention me in the press, and then they navigated directly to my website. That journey, those many journeys together, make up a story about how someone came. And if we're doing good multi-channel attribution, we can see which parts of the funnel and which channels are contributing as early in the funnel and late in the funnel towards a purchase decision or consideration and conversion. That gets us, that's really, really helpful because it tells us which channels and tactics are building up early interest, filling the top of our funnel at the exposure and discovery phase versus which parts are really converting people. Number four, track how long it takes for customers to move through the funnel and how that length affects retention. Fascinatingly enough, here at Moz, you take a free trial of our software, on average, after 7 visits. That means people come through many different channels, takes an average of 7 visits before they get into a conversion, before they take a conversion to free trial. And in fact, when we look at length, if you make more visits before you convert, your lifetime value, your loyalty, and your evangelism tends to be higher. which means we don't actually want to push people too early in the funnel into consideration and conversion. We want to let them take their time. That's critically important for you to understand in your own funnels so that you aren't focused only on conversion rate optimization at the expense of lifetime value, evangelism, and loyalty. All right, everyone, take care.